Hey guys, for today's challenge video, we are going to see if we can beat Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep using only Shotlocks. After the Dealings Only run, this seemed like the next logical step for a challenge run. For those of you unaware, Shotlocks are used by holding down the lock on button and then pushing the attack button. That is the only attack that I am allowed to do for the entire challenge, which would be easy, but the only way to use a Shotlock is to use the focus meter. You can get out about 2.5 Shotlocks with the focus gauge, so if there is ever an event or boss that will require more than 2.5 Shotlock attacks, we will have to do some planning. Starting off in Land of Departure, we run into the first problem of the challenge that I just described. We can use a maximum of 2.5 Shotlocks, but there are 3 waves of enemies, so we won't be able to finish this part of the game by spamming Shotlocks at the start. So what do we do? The solution to this is to literally let Ven and Terra do all of the work. And this plan will work. Ven and Terra will damage all of the enemies and can finish most of the fight for Aqua. The only problem is that they can't kill the final enemy in a wave, so Aqua will have to do that. The good news is that we don't need a full Shotlock to do it. Ven and Terra will take down the last enemy's health in a wave down to 1 HP, so we will only need 1 second's worth of a Shotlock to win. Unlike my no attack run or my Dealings Only videos for Birth by Sleep, there is a reason that we will have to play as Aqua instead of Ven and Terra, which I will discuss in a bit, but it all has to do with Castle of Dreams. As you can all guess, we will have to level up in this game. But since we can only use Shotlocks, this means that we can't use the attack command or any other commands. Just like with the Dealings Only challenge, there is some good news for those of you attempting to do this. Notice that my focus meter is empty. Well, whenever you leave a world and then re-enter it, your focus meter to use Shotlocks will be refilled. I am not doing any fancy editing tricks. This is real. Without this focus meter refill, this challenge would not be possible and we wouldn't be able to grind. The only problem you'll have in this game, but especially Castle of Dreams, is actually leveling up because it takes forever to do, and it's incredibly boring. There are 2 floods, which you can kill, that award a total of 1 experience each. I recommend just getting up to level 2 in Castle of Dreams, but it's not necessary. Your hardest thing in this level will be the Jacques escort. We only have 2 Shotlocks, and there are more than 2 waves of enemies, so we won't be able to kill all the enemies to make it to the end. Well, not exactly. It turns out that when Jacques is being attacked, you sometimes get a pseudo-reaction command and the possibility to do a counterattack. This is allowed in the run. Normally I wouldn't allow reaction commands in my challenge runs, but since using Shotlocks is very restrictive, I'm allowing it. A thing that I notice is that sometimes we can leave Jacques with some enemies and he'll then decide to leave the enemies that Aqua is supposed to kill. You need this to happen at least once during the escort. After the escort, go to the movable shop and sell all of your items except ethers. We don't care about anything that is not an ether. Buy however many you can and then proceed to the boss fight. Don't sell your magic or attack commands just yet, as you might need them for melding later in the game. Anyways, now we have the boss fight, but I have yet to talk about the rules of the run, which I've been putting off until now for a reason. Beating the game using only Shotlocks is difficult, guys, and technically impossible, which is why I've taken a few liberties in this challenge compared to others. The first rule is that pseudo-reaction commands are allowed. Using the reaction commands for Jacques or Hercules in Olympus, or any allied character, is allowed. The second rule is that the use of items are allowed. For this run, we will only use ethers since that refills the focus meter as well as it being cheap and available. We don't care about other items. Don't worry though, I will use ethers when there are no other options. This is a challenge run after all. The third rule is that I obviously can't use the attack commands or magic commands. Even just attacking by swinging the Keyblade isn't allowed. I can only damage enemies from Shotlocks. An important caveat is even though I can't use attack or magic commands, I will keep them in the command deck solely for melding, which we will talk about later. And those are all of the rules. Spamming ethers and using Shotlocks for this boss is cheap, but it's allowed by the rules, and there aren't any other ways to refill the focus gauge in this challenge without attacking the boss. Don't worry though, I'm going to try my best to avoid using items in this challenge. Remember that I said that there is a reason I chose to use Aqua in this challenge? The reason we need to play as Aqua is we want to finish the Castle of Dreams world as soon as possible so we can unlock the Castle of Dreams command board. Castle of Dreams will be the third or fourth worlds that Terra and Ven complete, and we need to finish Castle of Dreams as soon as possible. The reason I'm even talking about command boards is because we need to use the Castle of Dreams command board, unfortunately. This is the only way that we are able to unlock one of the crucial 100% needed abilities for this challenge, Focus Barrier. As the name implies, Focus Barrier lets you regenerate some focus meter with each successful block. Focus Barrier is on this cube, guys, and you will need it for the challenge. The command board minigame is complete RNG, so you can't influence where you go. You might land on the focus block cube on your first try or your 100th try. It took me 3 full games to finally land on this cube, but you need Focus Barrier. The good news is that you'll also level up some of your deck commands here without actually having to fight, so it's not a complete waste of time, though it's still a major waste of time. And some more good news for you guys, I managed to land on the Wishing Edge cube, so when I did finally win the game, I got the Wishing Edge command in addition to Focus Block. Back to the game though. Our next world is the Dwarf Woodlands, and here's a fun fact for you guys. You can't actually access the command board in a world. You need to stand on a save point to use the command board. Anyways, getting through Dwarf Woodlands is easy enough, and now for our next roadblock, we will have to fight the Magic Mirror. Beating the Magic Mirror using Focus Block is actually fun, though this fight will take a couple of minutes. What you want to do is start the fight by using all of your focus meter, doing the maximum amount of damage to the Magic Mirror. This is also a very great example of how to use Focus Block. It works just like Renewal Barrier. When you block an attack, the focus meter increases, which means we can use more Shotlocks. Of course, we can always use our ethers for all of the boss fights to refill focus, but we don't have that much money, so we will have to utilize Focus Block for now. I do recommend that you have Focus Barrier leveled up a bit, so it refills a sliver more of the focus gauge. I recommend using Focus Barrier when the magic mirrors are in 2 rows and spitting fireballs at Aqua. The fireballs will refill a non-insignificant amount of the focus gauge, and it's easy to block. Plus the magic mirror will always use this attack, so it'll just be a matter of time to beat him. You will need Focus Barrier for Maleficent's level, not Maleficent, but the level. Before that, sell all of your items that are not ethers and buy at least 6 fire commands so we can level them up. Your first roadblock will be with Prince Philip, when you have to run across this area. You can use the Jacques strategy of using the pseudo reaction commands to save Philip at the last second, and honestly, you don't even have to do that. Philip can damage and kill all of the enemies on his own, so you don't even have to help. Just like with Terra and Ven, the only caveat is that you will need to kill the last enemy of a wave. Philip can take them down to having 1 HP, but he can't kill the last enemy. Aqua must do the finishing blow. This strategy of letting Philip do all of the work also applies outside. You can stand in a corner and he'll do everything, but you can help him out if you want, as waiting is boring. If Philip loses all of his health, you shouldn't worry either. He's a simp, so he'll revive himself in a short amount of time. If you do run out of focus, the archer enemies are the easiest to block to refill focus. It's not a lot, but we aren't on a time limit. And now for the very bad news. Guys, I may have failed the challenge. We will have to hit this wheel to exit the level. Shotlocks don't work on the wheel, so we have to swing the keyblade. And we will fail the challenge a second time because there's a second wheel. But I won't count these since these are inanimate objects. When I had to fight the Maleficent dragon, things went swimmingly well. Like, too well. I wasn't expecting this fight to be this easy, and I definitely was expecting to fail on my first try. I legitimately went into this fight with no plan. I was just trying to see how far I would get by just spamming Shotlocks and then think of a strategy. But I managed to win on my first try. All you have to do is keep spamming your Shotlocks. Easy as that. I did get a pseudo reaction command where Philip throws Aqua into the air, and I think it glitched somehow as he only does this when the dragon is flying. But I beat the boss using only Shotlocks, and that's what matters. Now that we are in Radiant Garden, the plot will thicken as we have to fight Trinity Armor. I hate this fight. When we have to fight against Trinity Armor, expect this to be at least a 5-minute long fight. I really don't have much advice here other than to not play this game on critical for this type of challenge. Luckily, we don't have to use ethers to win, as it is possible to win using only focus block, but it's just longer and not worth the time or effort. Just make this easier on yourself and abuse ethers. If you do choose to make yourself go crazy by fighting him without using Shotlocks, I recommend using Shotlocks at the start of the fight to make Trinity Armor dismantle itself. This is what you want. From here, let Terra and Ven do all of the work. Just like Philip, they can damage enemies. Like, look at the HP of this boss. This took less than a minute and Aqua didn't have to do anything. Terra and Ven luckily can damage each of the Trinity Armor's pieces up to having 1 HP. Whilst I was doing this fight, I saw this cool attack where Trinity Armor flies into the sky, releases rays of light, and then falls. I didn't know about this attack. Did you guys know about this attack? Tell me in the comments below. Anyways, we want to keep the propeller alive for as long as possible. The main reason being that the propeller can do this attack, which if guarded correctly, can refill a lot of the focus meter. And don't worry if Terra and Ven lose all of their HP, they recover quickly just like Philip. There really isn't any special type of strategy that I use to win this fight, it's just a lot of patience and guarding attacks to refill the focus gauge, watching Terra and Ven do chip damage when they decide to attack, and a lot of luck. The Vanitas fight is another long fight, but you'll win eventually. The good news is that he is a lot easier than Trinity Armor. What you need to do is use your Shotlock at the start of the fight. You always want to have a semi-empty focus meter, so whenever you guard, the focus meter fills up. And that's the crux of this fight, guarding. You want to use focus block when you are a few meters away from Vanitas, not next to him. If you are next to him, he will swing the Keyblade, and that doesn't refill focus gauge. If you are a few meters away from him, he will do a fireball attack, which is the easiest attack to guard, and most importantly, it refills a lot more of the focus gauge relative to guarding next to him. But this is just a battle of attrition. Make sure to not go easy on him, as there isn't any way to heal during this fight, and if Aqua dies here, we'll have to redo the entire fight. There is some good news for you guys though. Having finished Radiant Garden, the entire challenge is different now. We don't care about using Focus Barrier to refill the focus meter anymore. That's long and hard to do. Yes, that's what she said. We are going to take a detour. This is going to be the only time I talk about melding and last time for buying commands, as we are now at the turning point of the challenge. We can now buy the Ezunuk command in Disney Town, and we can buy a barrier command. If we meld a barrier command and an Ezunuk command together, we get renewal barrier. This is important now, as we can also get the defender ability with this. Will increase our defense when we have critical health, since our new strategy will be to take a lot of damage. And this just worked itself out. Remember that wishing edge that we got from the Cinderella command board all the way back at the start of the video? Well, that combined with Barrier Surge, which we also got from Castle of Dreams, melded with an Abounding Crystal, gives us the Experience Walker ability. Experience Walker makes it so that every step Aqua takes levels her up, so we won't need to actively waste time grinding levels for Shotlocks. I let Aqua run around in a circle for an hour with the Experience Walker ability to level her up, while I was doing my daily cry about the state of my life, and Aqua leveled up. You will also have to buy 4 Blizzard commands and level them up so we can meld them into 2 Blizzara commands. Melding these 2 Blizzara commands with a Soothing Crystal to get a Blizzaga command gives us the Once More ability. Next will be Fire. Remember all those fires that we bought earlier? Well, when you meld the fires to make Fira and add a Soothing Crystal, it gives us HP boost, and we want 3. When the Firas are fully leveled, you can meld 2 Fira commands with a Wellspring Crystal to get Second Chance, which helps us to not die. And most importantly, I saved the best meld for last. Melding 2 more Fira commands with a Soothing Crystal will give us Damage Siphon. Damage Siphon changes the name of the game for us. What Damage Siphon does is that every time we take damage, which will be a lot of times, it will refill some focus. It's not a lot, but we will get back focus as long as we take damage. And the best part is that using Damage Siphon with the renewal block, which we just melded, will allow us to have essentially infinite focus, since we can heal our damage without actually using the Cure command. This is also why we melded the Second Chance, once more HP boost, and Defender abilities, all to support Damage Siphon. And for those of you wondering, yes, I could have melded Damage Siphon all the way back in Castle of Dreams, but since we didn't have access to Renewal Block until now, Damage Siphon alone would not have been able to refill the focus meter enough to kill the bosses, since we would have died because we would need Renewal Barrier. And that is it, guys. I'm very sorry, that will be all of the nerd talk in this video about melding. In Olympus, and I know that I just described the beauty of melding and said that it would change the name of the game, and it does, but not for the Colosseum tournament. The timer is way too strict in the Colosseum tournament. If we had a minute for each round, then maybe it would be possible, but because we get like 10 or 15 seconds and the enemies don't refill that much meter with Focus Barrier and Damage Siphon, we will have to use the dreaded Ethers. I tried this tournament a few times, but I would only make it to the 3rd round without Ethers. I didn't see a path forward in this challenge without using Ethers. This will be the 2nd time that we must use items in this challenge, though I won't count using items as a failure due to the madness of this challenge. Don't be disappointed in me yet, guys. I'm already disappointed in myself. The Hades and Ice Titan fight will be the perfect example of how Damage Siphon will work with Renewal Block. So to start with, forget about the Ice Titan, you really don't care about him. You want to focus on killing Hades first, which is easy enough. And as far as I know, when you do knock him out, he will remain knocked out forever, so you don't have to kill him and the Ice Titan within a minute of each other. As for this being the perfect example of Damage Siphon and Renewal Block, it's all because of the Ice Titan. Just like in KH1, the Ice Titan has a ranged attack where he shoots ice crystals at you. These ice crystals are so plentiful and do enough damage to Aqua that you can refill most of your focus gauge from one of his combos. And the best part of this is that if you stand over here, Ice Titan will only attack Aqua with the ice crystals, nothing else. When you take damage, you gain focus. When you're about to die, use Renewal Barrier and Aqua will heal herself. This is the killer combo that will make the rest of the challenge easy. And as a reward for helping us, we will make the Ice Titan chill out permanently. Deep space is interesting. The hardest part is when you literally enter the world. The enemies in deep space have more defense than in Olympus, so you'll be using your Damage Siphons and Renewal Barrier a bit more compared to the last level, but this is why we have Experience Walker. And full disclosure to you guys, when I did have to go outside in deep space, I used regular attacks, but since I can't use Shotlocks outside, I'm going to let this slide as well. The Gan 2 boss fight was very much like the Maleficent fight, as it went a lot better than I initially thought it was going to be. This was my literal first attempt at the fight, and I was expecting to die at least once, but I got lucky on my first try. I guess the Experience Walker and Damage Siphon abilities are working a lot better than I expected. The Vanitas boss fight in Neverland is harder than when we fought him in Radiant Garden, but not that bad since we have Damage Siphon. The first part of the fight is actually the hardest part of the fight. Only when we cut down some of his health to start shooting fireballs at us will this fight become easy, and that's really it. During the first part of the fight, he'll teleport a lot just like in Radiant Garden, but with enough persistence, you'll get enough of his health down to get him to shoot the fireballs, and sometimes multiple in a row. I mean, he'll still shoot the fireballs at the start of the fight, but I think he shoots more as you take away more of his health. Just tank the damage with Damage Siphon to regain focus, and then guard his attacks with Renewal Barrier to heal. I don't really have much to say about the Vanitas fight. He wasn't as hard as some of the other times I fought him in other challenge runs, so this was a nice change of pace. But seriously, as long as you have Damage Siphon and Renewal Barrier, you should be fine. We don't need to make it harder than it needs to be by perfectly guarding his attacks with Focus Barrier. Anyways, within a short time, you'll be done with the Vanitas and ready to go to the final level. The Keyblade Graveyard is surprisingly short. The fight against Brig went a lot better than expected as well. Just follow the same strategy of taking damage to refill focus and immediately using it and you'll win. Even though I went in with full ethers ready to spam them, I did not use any. I was expecting this fight to be terrible like Olympus, but I was wrong. An interesting, though obvious thing did happen to me in this fight. Implicitly, when I made the rules near the start of the video, I didn't say that guarding was not allowed, because it is. We use Renewal Barrier and Focus Barrier a lot in this playthrough. The reason that I'm bringing this up is that just guarding Brig's bullets damages him. Guarding is a viable strategy in this fight, and it does a decent amount of damage. I use the guard command solely to refill health, not to damage Brig, and with all the damage he took from guarding using the Shotlocks on him, this was a simple challenge. And the same level of ease will be there for defeating Vanitas. If you look at my focus gauge at the start of the fight, it's not filled up as I just defeated Brig. I honestly thought I would be forced to use items for Vanitas, but we also don't need items here. As you guys could probably guess, the very existence of Mickey in this fight means that we have completed the challenge. Even if we didn't have damage siphon, we could run around the arena for 20 minutes and let Mickey damage Vanitas all the way to 1 HP, to then have Aqua do the one shot luck to finish him. Plus with the Experience Walker ability, we could level up by running around. However, that's not very challenging for a challenge run, so I decided to fight Vanitas using our damage siphon strategy, and it worked. So can we beat Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep using only Shotlocks? Yes, but we have to allow the use of items twice, once for the Castle of Dreams boss, since there is no way to refill focus at that point in the game, and once for the Olympus tournaments. I would have preferred to not use items in this challenge, but I'm glad that I was at least able to keep it down to 2 uses. The only time that I think you could argue that I failed this run is when I had to hit the wheels in Enchanted Dominion or when I was outside in deep space. But I'm not going to count those as the wheels are inanimate and we can't use Shotlocks in space. This was actually a very fun playthrough to do, but I don't recommend doing this type of challenge as you'll have to play on the Cinderella command board and I don't think anyone wants to use the command boards. Comment down below if you enjoy playing on the command boards because I don't. Plus, the very slow leveling up of commands with Shotlocks requires a lot of pre-planning to not waste time, and it gets boring after a minute. I will try this challenge sometime in the future to see if we can beat Kingdom Hearts 3 in 0.2 using only Shotlocks, so you guys can look forward to that. Please comment down below telling me what you think or if you have any ideas for a future challenge. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
See you soon.